Welcome to Real Estate Live, where your questions get answered. We take a look at the hot topics on everybody's mind and we get right to the point. 3 times a week, going live on YouTube and Facebook on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Today's hot topic is all about how to buy a house while furloughed. I'm your host, Andrew Finney with King Realty Group in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. To tell us what's going on with how to buy a house while you're furloughed is Bill Marin with New American Funding right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bill's also going to go over what's happening with mortgage rates and give us some mortgage market updates along the way. Later on, we have a special guest, Angie Cole with A Cole Realty out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Rockstar superstar agent over there is going to be giving us some additional perspective and insights as we hit the Q&A portion right after the hot topic. If you want to join us live on screen, please use the link in the description below. And let me go ahead and get Bill Marin up on screen so we can start tackling this hot topic, and we'll introduce you to Angie too. All right. Bill, are you with us?
Morning, sir. What's going on, buddy?
Let me try. I'm trying to get Angie. Angie, are you with us?
I'm here.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for joining in. So, Bill, why don't we go ahead and get right to the point? Let's go over those mortgage rates, those mortgage market updates, and then let's spend some time on today's hot topic with how to buy a house while furloughed.
Yeah, so the market's relatively stable this morning. It didn't open up in a better position, opened up in a little bit worse, but it's making a small recovery right now. So the rates are still good. Not really much movement on the interest rates, especially because the lenders are taking a little while to update the pricing with what's going on in today's interest rate market and how everything's working. But rates are still great. Guidelines are still about the same as what they were last week from what I can see. So no major changes as of yet.
Okay, so no major changes on the mortgage rate. So what are we hovering about right now, low and mid and high right now? What are you seeing?
It's all about the lender that you're working with, because different lenders right now are doing things differently with guidelines and what they'll even allow. Some lenders are requiring a 680 and above credit score. Some are requiring 620 and above. So it just depends really on the individual unique situation. Andrew, last week I was locking loans that were VA at 2.75 with no points, but I was also locking loans at 4.5 with a half a point cost. So it just depends on the individual scenario. So again, it just depends, man.
It just depends on the individual scenario with their buyer worthiness and the loan program in general then, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, good stuff. So, Bill, why don't you hit us with any mortgage market updates you may have, any trends that you're seeing right now as we get ready to begin this week?
So there is some stuff coming up this week, and there's a really big kind of something to watch for sure when it comes to rates, programs, and all that. Is England actually just started printing money, which is a huge indicator of the hyperinflation, which is actually a scary thing to watch. So we're not going down that path by any means, hopefully anytime soon here in the States. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because that will affect the markets a bit. There is some things coming up this week. Is on Wednesday, we got the mortgage application report that's coming out to show us how many mortgage applications were done. On Thursday, we have the home starts for new home builders, so we can kind of see what's going on there. And that's when typically you start seeing a little bit of adjustment to interest rates as well. So there was the unemployment stuff that came out, Andrew. I know you and I were talking about before, but it looks like there was, an unemployment rate of 20%. 17 million plus people being unemployed right now, which is pretty unprecedented, man.
Yeah. So, well, keep us posted. I know you'll be back with us on Wednesday with any of the updates that happen between now and then with the mortgage market trends. So keep us posted on what's happening with those unemployment numbers and any lending guideline changes that might occur between now and then. So why don't we go ahead and get into how somebody can buy a house while furloughed? Is it even a good idea? How's it going to work? What should people know?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, man, because there's a lot of people out there who might be able to buy, they may not be able to buy because they're furloughed, they have a different situation, they might be laid off completely, might be fired, businesses shut down, but there's still a lot of great stuff going on. There's still people that do have opportunity. There is people that are out there working, that are able to pay their bills, that are able to keep doing things. So that's the question to ask, Andrew, is if you are currently furloughed, and before we even get into the details, should you buy, right? Should you actually do that? And that depends on the situation. It depends on what type of job someone has. If somebody's got a tip-based job and they're a server in a restaurant, depending on your income situation, depending on what you got going on, even if you can qualify, I don't know, take an objective look at that and see if you can. If you're a salaried person or maybe just an hourly employee and you're furloughed but still getting paid, dude, rock on. That's great. Let's go for it. But it's an individual scenario type situation. Now, in order to qualify, and this is at New American Funding where I work, New American Funding, we require that individuals have a 620 or higher credit score to qualify. And they got to have at least a 620 credit score. And if you're currently furloughed, you have to still be getting paid, right? It can't be for someone that's doesn't have any income coming in. You have to still continue being paid. If you're furloughed, you have to also have 6 months of principal, interest, taxes, and insurance once you close. So 6 months, whatever your mortgage payment is, with your taxes, insurance, everything included, you got to have 6 months of that set aside once everything's said and done in order to close. And I was talking to one of my agents last week, smart guy, great dude. He was like, man, that's ridiculous. How could you expect someone to have 6 months of reserves when they close in their house and they're furloughed? You got to kind of take a step back and look at it from a position of, if that was your money and you were lending just a friend $1,000 and they were furloughed and you didn't have any idea what their situation was, wouldn't you want to know that they had the ability to maybe pay you back, right? So in that situation we do want to see that they have the ability to, if they are out of work for maybe another month or two, they do have the ability to continue making that payment, which is why we want to see those 6 months there. So it's not black and white. It's not cut and dry. It does still have to go through underwriting and make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but people can still buy when they're furloughed if it makes sense. I mean, it's got to make sense. It's got to be something that makes sense for us as a lender, and then for the home consumer, the person buying the property.
Well, what you said about people having like 6 to 12 months of reserve, it just occurs to me, I read an article after article, and I don't know about Angie here if she does the same thing, where a lot of Americans might only have 1 month, maybe 3 months of an emergency fund. So when you're talking like 6 to 12 months, that's a really tight lending guideline that I think is going to knock a lot of people out of contract if they're in contract. So, I mean, somebody had asked me last Friday about, hey, Andrew, I think I'm going to get laid off. Should I buy a house? And my answer was no, because we don't want to see people get hurt. And if you get laid off, even if they had the 6 to 12 months reserves, then what happens if for some reason, for an unforeseen circumstance, this goes longer or they don't get their job back? I mean, we don't want to see people get foreclosed or short sold either. So, I mean, while I'm glad there's an option for helping people, I'm just concerned about the reality of how many people actually have 6 to 12 months to be able to buy if furloughed, and if it's even a good idea. I mean, Angie, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you, Andrew. And I mean, we want to stay active in our business, but we also want to look out for our clients and their best interest as well. So if I know that, someone's potentially going to be laid off, we would probably advise them as well to hang tight. Let's check back in, next week and the next month. And if it's not now, in the future, we'll help you out. But, the last thing we want is someone to move in and they become house poor or, can't afford their home and their home goes into foreclosure.
Absolutely. Great point, Angie. Certainly appreciate that. So why don't we take a look at like the comments that are coming in? And one of the comments I wanted to lead off, and before I begin, I do want to let everyone know that if you want to check out Angie's podcast, and I do see there's a few comments right here that there might be a little bit of feedback audio issues, and my apologies in advance for that. When you go live, I'm sorry. I mean, it's one of those things. We test the audio, everything was good to go, and reset connections and everything, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So I'm sorry about any disturbance up front, everybody. But let me go ahead and let you know where there isn't any disturbance. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen in case that's easier for you. And that's Angie Cole's podcast once a week, every Saturday at noon on 106.1 FM. And she has all the recordings of her past podcasts right here that you can link to and that you can go to. Now, this link of Angie's is in the show more description below. The other thing that you could do if you want is she does post a lot of wonderful photos on her Instagram profile. You might want to follow her. And again, if you're in Raleigh, North Carolina or in that area, I definitely recommend that you reach out to Angie and see what's going on. And if you want to know more about Angie, again, this link is in the show more description too. You can see that she owns this organization. She is the broker, and they have their team underneath A Cole Realty. So superstar over there, knows everything about the Raleigh market. Definitely in great hands with Angie. So I had to plug you on that. Now, right here, this video, the reason I wanted to pop this up, there was a question that came in that was germane to today's topic. Jameson, I don't know, can you see this right here where it says Jameson says, I'm closing soon, but I've been furloughed and I have money, extra money saved up to pay my mortgage for at least 4 months. Will being furloughed affect my closing? Now, Bill, you told us that somebody had to have 6 to 12 months. So what happens if they're at 4 months then?
No, it's not going to work. At least, this is my opinion. This is me at New American Funding. Every lender is going to be different. If you are furloughed and you only have 4 months of what it takes you to live in a bank, who's to say you're not back at work full time in the next 4 months? I would, and again, my personal opinion, Andrew, you can correct me, Angie, you correct me as well, but I would reach out to your real estate professional, find out if there's any option regarding the extension of escrow. Find out, is it a new construction? Is it new build? Is it a resale? Find out if there's any option to extend. Hey, because maybe in the next 2 weeks, we'll all get word, hey, the virus is beat. We're going back to work in a week. Rock on, man. Everything's great. But we also might get the other news. So you want to just reach out. Communication is key in this time. I would definitely reach out to your real estate professional and find out if there is, and this is, again, my opinion, find out if there's an option to get an extension to at least give you some breathing room to find out what's going on in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So Jameson, I hope that you're here with us today. If you are, just let us know. I know that I responded back to you that was today's topic. So if you catch us after the live stream, and I'll shoot you a reply after this live stream concludes and let you know that we did hit that as well. And you got to hear it right from Bill, the situation, along with the suggestions. So thank you so much for that, Bill. Let's go into the comments, starting with Marty Smith. Marty Smith is actually related to the Hernandez family, and I think she just saw the post on Facebook, and she's like, "Hey, you're the best. I'm the California aunt to the Hernandez family. Love the house and service you provided to my family. Looking forward to Wednesday. Happy Easter to you and yours, Marty. I hope that you enjoyed a very happy Easter too." And what she's referring to, everyone, is the Hernandez family reality show. Goes live 5:30 Pacific time this Wednesday. It's a 14-part series about the reality of home buying and encompassing the 14 major milestones during the home buying process. No fluff, no gruff, no mess, no hype, just truth. And if you want to know how to buy a house, you're going to see Bill again. And I promise you there are no audio distortions in our recorded quality. So I responded to her just saying thank you. And then let's see, Drew. Let's get Drew here. Drew says, hey, just wondering if you guys think home values will drop, and if so, when? Angie, would you be so kind to tackle that, please?
Yeah, most definitely. I know every market's a little bit different, but I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina in the Triangle market, and we have one of the strongest markets just across the country. And we do not, for any reason, feel that values will drop just because we are still in a very strong seller's market right now with very low inventory. If anything, the inventory levels are dropping just a little bit because sellers are a little bit more cautious about going active and on the market right now. So what that means, it's all about supply and demand. And as we have low inventory levels, the values will continue to increase. So in our market right now, we're still seeing multiple offers. Anything below 400,000 is flying off the market. So I do not foresee in any way that prices will drop on homes.
Angie, and that's an awesome point. And I want to just reiterate what we talked about last week, Andrew, was, man, if you're holding out because you think property prices are going to drop a little bit, hey, maybe there is a listing that you see does drop 5 or 10 grand. That does not mean across the market prices are going to drop. And the bigger thing to think about is, hey, what if maybe the prices drop 5, 10, 15 grand, but the rates go back up to where I think they probably would have been quite a bit higher. That same home is going to cost you more unless you're paying cash, right? So I would just cautious, just seriously, just don't. I would recommend, if you can qualify now and your situation makes sense to buy, man, buy, because rates are so good. Don't hold out thinking that the prices are going to crash and you're going to be able to come in and do what we all did in 2010, 11, 12. It's just not. It's a totally different situation.
Different market.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's important to reiterate again, because it comes up in every live stream, and I think that it should. And I think that we should be tracking everything in the moment. If it looked like we were hitting the danger point, would be the first thing that I started talking about, was the danger point and why. We're not at the danger point, in my humble real estate professional opinion. For one reason being that we don't have the stated income, stated asset, no income, no asset loans that we had that led to the 2008. People actually have to qualify, going back to what Bill was sharing with us earlier today, with even tightening lending guidelines to ensure that people don't get foreclosed or sold upon. Then we have Wednesday's topic, which is all about mortgage forbearance, to buy people some time here. And we're going to go into how that works too. So there's so many options as far as how to handle this. And we're seeing the same thing in the real estate market here in Las Vegas, and every other agent had on around the country, including a gentleman from Canada last week. Look, our markets are very vibrant, very healthy. And if anything, if we do see a little bit of a reduction of inventory over time, it's just by the sheer fact of a person's comfort level of going on the market. And if they're not comfortable, they shouldn't. Or perhaps they're furloughed and they're not ready to move forward. And I completely agree with it. Everybody has to do what they're comfortable and confident with doing when the time is right for them. But that said, Drew, talking about values dropping, I don't think so. And Angie, you've been an agent much longer than me. Obviously, you own your own brokerage as well. But last time I checked, if you take inventories here and you take buyer demand here and you decrease them gradually, you're really in the same spot, but it didn't help anybody, right? But it's one of those things that I think that if that continues to hold the course, that we really come out of this in the exact same position, except we'll have less homes to choose from, and we'll have higher buyer demand, which will then go to a seller's market, perhaps third or fourth quarter this year. And I mean, it's anyone's guess whether that's the correct timeline or not, but that's my own guess based upon reading and watching everything that Dr. Fauci is saying and what Bill's sharing and everything else that's happening right now as it takes place. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like I mentioned already, we are already in a seller's market here. So that's going to continue that way. And if not, become more of a seller's market with low inventory. I think once eventually this stay-at-home order is lifted, in different markets, I mean, the gates are going to flood. And we have serious buyers out right now, but then all the looky-loos will be out as well. Because people have been bored, tied up in their homes. They want to get out. They want to start viewing homes. So it's going to be crazy.
Yep.
I completely agree with you. I think it's going to be a veritable feeding frenzy of available homes at that time. So thank you for those points of view, Angie. It's very, very awesome to hear that. So Pug Love in April says, good morning, Pug Love in April. Thank you so much. You're always here and your support is amazing. And I'm super excited to get your thoughts on the Home Buying Reality series that premieres this Wednesday at 30. I know you've been waiting for a few months for that series to come out. Well, my friend, it's about to drop. So, Meseret Ben says, good morning. You always come up with the best topics. I can't thank you enough. Well, it also is in a large part due to my colleagues, Bill Marin and Angie Cole. That's how we come up with these topics, and having different perspective, I think, is the most valuable insight any of us can provide in these times. And I do appreciate your support, Meseret. Thank you for being here again. John Carr, who was our guest last Friday, was just letting me know we had some feedback. That was the first thing that I'd heard. Thank you for that. Sometimes with the live stream, I think it smooths itself out, and it's just one of those things that sometimes happens. Smoosh Star says, please fix the audio. Look, right there with you. If there was a way for me,
I think it was my fault. I think I had my volume up too high. We fixed it.
Well, maybe that's what it was, because then here it was right here. Smooth Star says someone has their speaker too loud, so maybe that's where we got a reverb. Anyways, thank you so much for that. I'm so sorry about the audio issues, and it's a learning lesson, and we just keep learning and growing together through this process. So let's go ahead. A lot of comments about it. Okay. Smooth Star says perfect. Thank you, Smooth Star. Really appreciate your engagement with us, letting us know. Elena says it's clear now. Bijou says it's Yelp. And let's see, Mr. Kyle Walker, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here again, Kyle. Kyle says, I'm starting a 3D Matterport virtual tour business right now. How should I approach realtors to get in the properties right now? I am willing to do a few tours for free as I need to build my portfolio. Angie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would pick up the phone and call the agents. we of course were bombarded with emails, with marketing pieces, and it's a quick delete. So really to build that personal relationship, I would call the agents in your market, just because of course Kyle needs to actually step foot in the home to do the Matterport virtual tours. So get a roster of, top producing agents, give them a ring and say, hey, I'm happy to offer this for free. And then you become the well-known person. And from there, of course, you can charge.
Right. I think that's a great suggestion. And completely right there behind you with that one. So Pug Love in April says, thank you. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Cherry is here from Montana. And LaRon Hall, well, we know Mr. LaRon Hall. Well, Angie, going back to our conversation before we went live, LaRon is one of the wonderful families that he and his wife are one of the wonderful families that we're in contract right now with their brand new home construction home that is moving forward despite everything that's happening right now. Thank you for joining in, LaRon. So one of the things to consider, and I think it's great that Kyle brought it up a moment ago, is how can we show homes and how can we sell homes in this current market with COVID-19 taking place? And I'd be really curious to pick your brain here, Angie, and see what your thoughts on this matter are.
Yeah, so it really depends from area to area. The restrictions are a little bit different. I know we kind of briefly chatted about this. In our market here in North Carolina, which we service more of the Triangle area, but we are not limited on what we can do. We're based on, or essential. There is one county that we cover. We cover Durham County, and the county restrictions, or the city, overrides the state. And in the county, we cannot show homes at all. You can actually lose your license. It's a misdemeanor, not worth it, right? So that means we cannot step foot in the home, whether the client's with us or not. We cannot go on listing appointments. So, it is a little tough to keep that market going as far as just keeping the home sales. But things that we can do in Durham County, we definitely can do everything virtual. We could always get the seller involved and ask them to do a live stream. They could, do a Zoom call, FaceTime. They could help out with actually selling their home by doing a live video for a buyer to watch. I think that's the best thing to do, because when it comes to listing appointments, I must do it virtually as well for someone trying to sell their home in the Durham area. So we do that by FaceTime, by Zoom, but we will be limited on photography. We cannot get our photographers in there. We can do a virtual staging, so that can be super helpful. But we're really going to need the involvement of the sellers to help us to really market the home. So anything virtual is a must. For homes that do allow showings, we have started doing a lot of Matterport. That's been great, because even though showings are allowed, some sellers still do not feel comfortable with people coming in and out of their homes, and it's really tough to distinguish which buyers are serious and which are just kind of looking. And so an option is Matterport. There's also high-end videos we can do as well. So just things to really showcase the home without actually stepping foot inside.
I think those are really great points, and it's something that we've been looking at here in Las Vegas too. Obviously, you're comfortable with video and being out there and making things happen, as am I. And I know there's a lot of our other trusted real estate advisors around the country that are the same way. I think it's really about working smart, keeping people safe, and making sure that we're operating within their comfort level as far as what they would like to do and how they're feeling about the showing situation. One of the things that I was curious about, though, is a broker owner, Angie. If you had somebody, and let's say you didn't have a virtual tour done on your property, like a YouTube video or a Facebook video or something like that, would you allow other agents in your marketplace to also do that and promote it on their social media?
We don't. But the reason being is my name's on the listing. And so I want to make sure that I have complete control of that listing. And so, yes, it's great to get the word out more and more by potentially another agent doing a video and post it on their social media. But I don't know the quality of the video. I don't know what's being captured, within the home. I don't know what's being said. And so that makes me a little bit nervous to allow other agents to market my listings unless it's actually my information. Now, we're very open to, for example, if no one's doing open houses right now, but if we were doing an open house, we allow other firms to host open houses for us. but they're always using our materials. We want to make sure that we're doing the best marketing possible because, again, my name's on the listing.
Right. I can completely understand and respect that. I was just curious because here in Vegas, almost half of those 5,700 homes that are presently available are actually vacant. So I was thinking to myself, I'm happy. I'll just go run out and do virtual tours on all of them, or as many as I can get done. Right. But it always seems to be a matter of whether the seller would allow it, if a listing agent would permit an agent to do that and market it. Some people feel a conflict of interest a little bit with that. Whereas, what sometimes I get contacted by other brokerages or other top performing agents here in Vegas, and they say, "Hey, Andrew, we saw your listing. It was super, super cool. Can we put it out on our Facebook or Instagram or something?" I'm just like, heck yeah. My goal is to get that home sold for my seller. So I'm just like, hey, doesn't bother me. And the more exposure we can get to buyers, especially right now, my thought is, why not?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And in my opinion, is just trying to help everybody through the situation and being comfortable and confident. But I do know that there's going to be obviously a lot of brokers and other thoughts on this matter. That's why I was just curious, because the next thing that would come to my mind is layering it out. Well, how do you ensure that that person doesn't have COVID? How do you ensure the security of the seller? How do you ensure all of these questions as a listing agent start coming to mind all of a sudden with, well, what happens if you had, like here in Vegas, over 18,000 real estate agents and all of them decide they want to try to do this? Then what happens?
Yeah.
So I think it's really curious.
The state as well, as far as the rules and regulations within the real estate commission as well. In our area, you actually have to get approval from the listing agent to market their listing in any way. But I know my buying agents, when they're out showing a home, they're doing the quick like Insta stories or Facebook stories. But within reason, you have to be careful on marketing someone else's listing. But it goes both ways. I mean, if it's positive marketing and it's going to help me to get a home sold, I'm all about it. I just want to make sure that it's, top of the line marketing that's being attached to my listing.
Right. Completely respect that. Completely understand it. And thank you for your insights on that. So, Bill, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with people that are thinking about purchasing a home or currently in the closing process that are furloughed right now?
Yeah, so like we talked about, Andrew, if the people are confident with their situation and you think that it's a good idea to buy, I have it kind of on my end. Even though it is just the mortgage side and we do a lot of stuff through the computer and online, I do like to meet with people in person, right? I love to do that. It's one of the things I like to sit down and talk about things and shake hands, and that old school thing of looking somebody in the eye and shaking their hand, right? But right now, obviously, we can't do that. So the way that I like to start it is obviously with a phone call, just a quick conversation on the phone, figure out what somebody is looking for, what kind of loan programs might fit their situation, and then just to have them do an online loan application. It takes 15 to 30 minutes depending on the complexity of your situation. And then once we have that done, you just send in the documentation, can get you pre-approved within a day or two sometimes, and get them off and start kind of breaking down the different programs that are available, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's still available for home buyers, and we can do all of it online.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point. And I would be pretty curious if anyone that's watching right now or watches this after the live stream lets us know. Speaking of like virtual appointments and stuff, how comfortable are you with meeting your real estate agent virtually, your loan officer virtually, and completing everything online? I just would be really, really curious to see where we are as a country and where we are in our real estate practices, to see how many people are out there that would truly go all digital, or if face-to-face is still a thing. And the reason that comes to mind is I did interview 3 of my past clients that bought all digitally. And that everything was done through video tours and stuff of properties to find the right ones. I always call the listing agent to let them know what was going on, make sure it was okay that I did a virtual tour on Facebook, essentially on that case. And that's how they bought the home. But all 3 of them kept saying the same things. As it pertains to an agent, the number one thing obviously is trust and comfort. It was all about trust and comfort of making sure that they felt like you were giving them the same level of service as you would give them if they were in person, pointing things out, good and bad and indifferent, answering questions. And look, those virtual tours actually take some time. I mean, I was in houses on average 35, 45 minutes just to make sure we could hit everything. So I was thinking to myself, if you were here in person, we'd probably be in and out of this house in like 5 to 15 minutes, because that's kind of average unless somebody's really loving the house, right? So Angie could probably talk about that too. But I was just thinking, wow, this is very, very thorough when we do videos. What do you think, Angie?
Yeah, it's funny because I think the idea of everything going virtual just naturally scares everyone. But before the COVID-19, we have sold so many homes virtually. In our area, we have a lot of people relocating to the area because of jobs, or maybe students coming to the area for schools. And so, just all of the time we're selling homes virtually, where we are the eyes and the ears, for them, where, maybe streaming them in however needed to show off the home. But, oftentimes we never even meet with the client until it's time for closing, or they don't even come to the closing table. We do a mail away closing. So it's not a new thing out there. A lot of people have been doing this for quite some time and completely fine with it. Same thing goes for on the listing side. Unfortunately, a lot of times I never get to meet a seller. Maybe it's an investment property. They live in a different state. Maybe it's tenant occupied, or the tenant's just moved out. But I never have the opportunity to even meet that seller. We do everything over the phone. So it's not uncommon to buy a home virtually.
That's pretty interesting. And I just saw a few different people right here that popped up. One of them being Cherry. Sherry says, yikes, no, I'm old fashioned. I need a realtor to check out the neighborhood and a handshake. And I completely respect and appreciate that. And I think that's where it's a curiosity whenever I did those interviews, because one of the common denominators between each of them is, even though they bought virtually and even though we were doing video and stuff, they all told me that if you have the opportunity to meet in person, for them, that's the preference. Even though all three of them did a virtual transaction essentially. And you're absolutely right. This is nothing new. And that's what it was, to me, when this COVID thing came out with everything that's happening, the only thing I'm most concerned about with COVID is people's health, people's safety, and taking care of each other and coming together in a time of need and staying together long thereafter, in my opinion, because we're always stronger and better together than we are not. But that said, it's all about taking care of each other. And when it comes to real estate, though, I was thinking, heck, I've been doing this for years. Where we're going out and doing video tours of property just to help people out, just for as a matter of convenience to them, because Bill and I work with a lot of active duty and military, and they could get ready, the PCS coming over on orders. They may be out of the country, they may be out of state, and the military only gives them so much time to go ahead and find their new home. So they're like, hey, Andrew, yeah, that's actually really good. We can do that. That's normally the second question. Number one is like, hey, that's a really cool idea. Oh, wait, can we do that? Yes, we can. And it's just up to the person that's making that decision. But I thought it was interesting because the reason I wanted to interview those three specific clients were ages, right? One of them being of the baby boomer generation, which was the one that really surprised me the most, that they were good for it, because I was thinking that, hey, I don't know if this will work, but I just wanted to toss it out there. And they were completely legit with the process, and they closed. COVID had really started kicking off right around closing time. And I actually met them at a casino parking lot to give them the keys, because that's what was easiest for them. I was like, this is a first for me. So ran over to the house to get the key, and then met them where they had flown into, essentially, to stay for a temporary place while the hotel still let them have a place to be until they got the keys to their new home. But I thought that was interesting. And the second thing was perhaps my generation, or maybe I don't know what my generation is anymore. They call me the elder millennial, but it seems like it was last year I was the generation that preceded millennials. So I don't know if I'm an old millennial, if that's the case, or I'm a very young Gen Xer. But all the same, that was the next category. And the category down from that was the youngest of the millennials, not quite at Gen Z level, but one of the younger millennials. And I thought the perspective would be awesome. So I've been preparing a video about, how to buy a house during a pandemic, essentially. And I wanted to break it out with, hey, here's interview 1, interview 2, interview 3. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you have options. It's just about making sure that you're comfortable with it, was my thoughts, at least. And that too, just like Sherry says, she prefers the old fashioned way. That's absolutely awesome, Sherry. And then you get Addie Addy Bad says, I am in Israel and I purchased 5 properties in Atlanta, Georgia, 7 flats in the UK. I trust my agents with my eyes. I work like that for the last 6 years. So Adi, thank you so much for letting us know that, because that's where I'm so curious. Like, if you want to call it like a question of the day, let us know in the comments. And, are you comfortable with virtual showings? Are you comfortable with the idea of a virtual transaction through video and digital methods? Or do you prefer actually getting to know your agent and working with them in person? Because I'm kind of torn whether this is like 50-50 or what this is. What are your observations?
I think we tend to find that it sounds like Addie might be an investor as well. So it might not be as much of an emotional buy and more about the numbers. And so I tend to find people who are investors, they're a lot more open to the idea of buying a home virtually, even before, COVID-19, where if it's a, primary residence, it's for their personal use. I tend to find people are more like Sherry, where they want to meet the agent, they want to walk through the home, they want to get an idea of who their neighbors will be. But not all people are that way. But I do tend to find that investors are a lot more open to the idea of buying sight unseen. Also, virtual showings could be an amazing idea to cut down on time. Meaning we have a lot of clients who fly into the area and they're limited on how long they're here for and how much time they have to view homes. So we can be the eyes for them to take their list from 20 homes down to their top 5. And so we can look at homes and do those virtual tours for them then to narrow down to their favorites. So when they're in town, they then can actually lay their eyes on those other homes that, are the top choices.
I think those are great tactics and excellent points. And to Adi came back and said another comment, and I think he hits the nail on the head here. He said, it takes me a lot of time to find the right agent. I saw some of my properties, but when you build a strong relationship with the agent, you can learn to trust him or her and invest based upon their options. And obviously, I think he meant opinions there. So I think that's a relevant point. And, a few years ago, I made a video all about how to pick the right agent for you by sizing them up, looking at their past sales performance, their online ratings, their reviews, and actually having a conversation with them to make sure they're the right person for you. And in my opinion, if you have a podcast or you have videos or something like that, check them out and see what they're like in those formats. And if you like them, well, high chances are it's 100% of what you're going to get in person, because we're just typically just the same. In my opinion, it's just a matter of coming off a camera or off of a podcast and having a conversation in person. Your thoughts?
You asked me?
Yeah, I know. It wasn't directed. Angie, your thoughts?
I mean, I 100% agree with you. And I know, Adi mentioned, no emotions with, buying, but it is all about finding the right agent, whether the agent's helping you, doing face-to-face showings or virtually, you have to have trust in those agents, whomever that might be. So, it really does boil down to who is representing you, because they will be your advocate. They need to be the person who is pointing out the negatives and not just the positives. So it's all about that relationship.
I think you're absolutely right. And Adi, I really appreciate you joining us today, my friend, and letting us know how you've purchased many properties and your thoughts in behind finding an agent. I think those are really, really great points to make. And I really appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. And then Jaji says, I think it really depends on the demographic and client when it comes to virtual sales. And I think you're right, Jaji. And that's why I think it's good to have the conversation and see, explore what's out there in people's mind as far as whether this is something people are even comfortable with, and why I wanted to do the interviews with past clients, just so you could see other real people. I mean, I didn't tell them what to say. I just essentially said, hey, we did this, and what were your thoughts? And what's going through your head during the process, and let them talk. So I'll probably end up breaking that into 3 separate videos off of that one, because interviews, some of them were a little bit longer. So they were all, I think, 10 minutes. So they had a lot to say. And I think it'd be valuable just to keep them as succinct as possible, and maybe 3 videos or something so people could see it. So, Angie, any other thoughts on the market or anything that are going on right now?
Yeah, I know our job as real estate professionals, of course, is to keep the general public, positive of as far as what's going on. Because I mean, what we're seeing in our market, things have slowed just a tad bit, but homes are still selling. I know it's, April 13th, and our team has already put 10 homes under contract this month. So that goes to tell you that, homes, people are still buying, people are still selling, and everyone has different reasons or needs as far as why they need to make those moves and those transitions. We also, though, we do want to practice, safety. And so it is important to us as well. If you are not a serious buyer, you're just kind of being what we call looky glue, now is probably not the time to get you out there and start looking at homes, because it's not fair to the agent. It's not fair to the seller. We want to do our part to stay, safe and healthy. I mean, our office is shut down right now. We're working from home, just like the rest of us. But there are reasons why people are forced to buy and to sell a home. And so that's where we step in. That's why we are essential, because otherwise there will be some people that are, homeless, or maybe someone did get laid off or, furloughed, and they're forced to make a move because they can no longer make their mortgage payment. Again, that's why we then step in to help them, because they need to downsize. So, I think there's people wonder, well, why is real estate essential? Well, we're here to help those people that are forced to make a move or that need to make the move.
Absolutely. And it's hard to shelter in place or hashtag stay home movement without a home.
Yeah.
And I think that's realistically why real estate is considered the essential service, because you can't stay at home. You can't shelter in place. You have nowhere to go unless you have somewhere to go. And I think it's also important to reiterate the very real fact, because there's a lot of people out there fear mongering right now. And to be honest with you, I mean, maybe I'd have more subscribers, or maybe I'd have more engagement or stuff like that if I was a fear monger, but my integrity won't permit it, because I think it's deceitful. I think it's a lie whenever you start trying to tell people the market's going to come down tomorrow. Buy my product and I'll teach you how to take advantage of it. Essentially, it's all for profit. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it whatsoever, the play on people's fear. And I just want people to recognize that fear is just false evidence appearing real. And when we look at the situation, life goes on. That was a point I kept reiterating last Friday. Life goes on. I was in a combat zone and stationed, and I lived in literally a war zone. I was in combat for 2 years of my life. Yet here I am now having this conversation with everyone that's present. And I think that's important, because life was still going on in the United States. To me, in my head, it probably wasn't, but it was, because all I knew was the bubble that I was in at that time. And when we find ourselves in all these different bubbles, I think it's important to put in context that everybody has a bubble. Andrew, you have a bubble. Bill has a bubble. I have a bubble. Everybody has a bubble. These bubbles are people. And it forms our worldview and the way that we see things. And it's important about having perception versus perspective. And perspective is key, and perspective is essential. And that's why I asked you to join me today, why I'm asking other agents around the United States and Canada to join in, and why I keep asking people to join us live that want to come live on camera with us, because it's all about perspective. And I want to have the conversation because we want to make sure we're clear about what's really happening and how best to help people along the way. So life just goes on. And that's why I made a combat analogy, because we're in a war zone now in the United States with COVID-19. It's its own form of a war. Well, how do we overcome it? Fortunately, we know one of the best offenses is a great defense with personal hygiene. We know we can do social distancing. We know that we can get out of the first responders' way and make sure that we enable them and we support them in their job so that we can be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. So there's so many things that we can do if we'll just take a step back, reassess the situation, realize life goes on. And to your point in real estate, Angie, people still need to downsize, upsize, or move for a job relocation or what have you. This is the truth of it. This isn't about real estate sales, in my opinion, these live streams. This is about the reality of life. And it's more about making sense of life and understanding how to pivot and knowing when to pivot and making sure that people have the right information to make a well-informed decision, at least in my humble opinion. But that's my thought. Angie, you have some thoughts? Bill, you have some thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's just about being positive and not being a fearmonger and just not doing it for all the wrong reasons, right? We should all be here to help each other, all politics aside, all BS aside. We're all Americans, man. We should all have each other's back no matter what through all this stuff, and we'll come out stronger. So I think that, I mean, that's right on, man, 100%. And it's one of those things that, just communication is key with every aspect of your life right now, with everything that's going on, but especially when it comes to real estate. If you're in the process of buying a home, wanting to maybe buy a home, communication is key. Communicate with your real estate professional, not just like you did a month ago, but like talk to them a lot more. If they're not calling you, call them. Same thing with your lender. Communication, huge. Just make sure that what you're doing is the right thing for your family, and make sure that it makes sense for your situation. So, and that's just what I got to get out of it, man, is just be positive. We're all Americans, have each other's back. Don't do things for a vindictive purpose. Just do the right thing, do the right thing and take care of each other. That's, me, that's how I am, dude.
That is. And that's why I think you and I've clicked so well over the last 6.5 years, helping well over 100, 170 career closings. And I think that well over 100 were with you on the buy side compared to, and the rest were listings. So, I mean, it's been the integrity, it's been the honesty, it's been knowing how to take care of people that count and really caring about the person. And, like I like to say, hashtag people before profit, right? Clients first mantra. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Angie, did you have anything you wanted to toss in there?
I mean, I think y'all hit on everything, which is important. Yeah. I mean, it's, our clients come first. I know I have a seller right now. They're ready to go. But the wife, she is on, nonstop oxygen. And I said, absolutely not. We're not listing your home right now. Don't even think about it. I know you guys are anxious to make your next move, but, it's not worth risking her health or their health together. So, the clients, they do truly come first.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that we're able to share this with everybody that's watching and that'll watch after the live stream as well. Because I think it's important that people know that a trusted real estate advisor really, really cares about the people, cares about our clients much more than anything else. The situation either makes sense or doesn't make sense based upon the facts of a situation. And to hear your story with one of your own sellers there that's on oxygen, the wife, and you're advising them not to move forward, I think that's very powerful coming from you at this time when other people say, oh no, sell. And you're like, no, let's look at the situation holistically, put it in context, and let's see what's best for you and your health in the situation. So I think that's really good. So Bill, Smoosh Star did ask a very interesting question and he called you out. So let's get that up over here. He says the FHFA director said, we're really at a point where there's a wide range of possible outcomes for this market. Given the uncertainty, I think it's appropriate to re-examine the underwriting standards. Bill?
Yeah, which is what you're seeing across the board. Lenders across the board are kind of evaluating that themselves. So good question, good quote, and really right on, because every lender's got different exposure with their risk. And that's why some lenders are requiring a 680, some lenders are requiring 620. I heard of one that allows down to a 600 with a large down payment. So, I mean, that is definitely something that should be being done, and it is. So that's very good for sure.
Okay. So, and that's what we're going live for 3 times a week right now. By the way, Smoosh Star is so that Bill can give us the mortgage market updates on both Mondays and Wednesdays. Keep track of the trends, keep track of the lending guidelines, keep track of the changes together, keep track of what rates are doing, and obviously hit different hot topics, which like this Wednesday, we're going to dive deep into mortgage forbearance, things that you need to know, things that you need to be prepared for, and how to size it up if it's really the opportunity that it seems to be, and how to make a well-informed decision based upon that. So Jaji says, I was a little bit late, and you guys mentioned Zoom, but I wanted to know what other mediums can be used for virtual sales. Angie?
Yeah, so Zoom, first of all, is free up to a certain amount of time used. I think it's 45 minutes. Don't hold me to that, but you can get a lot done within 45-minute recordings. But then there's also Skype. There's FaceTime. So, I mean, for us, that's the 3 major avenues that we're using for virtually, tying in a buyer when we're doing a walkthrough of a home.
I think that's a great point. And when you say FaceTime, I don't know. We have some audio feedback. Oh my goodness. I don't know what the stream is doing. You can't make this stuff up. When you're live, you're live. You just got to roll with it. So, hey, thank you for everyone that's still with me, but I can't control it. The internet is being the internet today, apparently. And this is even like really fast internet. But anyways, where was I going with this? Oh, FaceTime. I was going back to this FaceTime situation because I know FaceTime is like Bill taught me is like a Apple iPhone type thing, right? And what I use as a Droid user is Facebook Messenger. I have found that you can do video tours like that all the time. And it's very easy because a lot of people are on Facebook. And if they're not on Facebook, then they can create a profile just for their home search, and it's always free. And the clarity is generally very, very good. The only suggestion I have is don't try to make a client laugh and then make an emoji on your face or something, because I can't get it off afterwards. I tried that. I was making the client laugh, and then I ended up as a dragon, a ballerina, you know, whatever you want to call it, whatever it wanted to cycle me through. I was all kinds of different things other than my face. So, I don't know. So, Jaji, so to Angie's point, you had Zoom, you have Skype, you have FaceTime, you have Facebook Messenger, essentially any way that you can get a video, you can do it. As far as digital signature programs, there's a slew of them out there available to real estate professionals, mortgage, and title companies. We use a program called AuthenticSign here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Previous to that, I used DocuSign. My broker uses HelloSign. So, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues of how to make this happen. It really comes back to your comfort level and what you want to do that makes best sense to you, because the solutions and technology are most certainly there. It's just about comfort and what makes you happy. Okay. So, LOL Flores, lots of laughs Flores, I'm assuming, or Lou Flores. Love this channel, and we love you being here with us. Thank you so much for joining in. So, Angie, you know, we've been streaming almost about an hour today, and I certainly appreciate everyone being here and the wonderful engagement. Please remember that you can check out Angie's Raleigh, North Carolina podcast once a week, every Saturday at noon at 106.1 FM. Really, really cool stuff. I was listening to her podcast, absolutely brilliant information coming out of that podcast. But what I like to do is end on a high note. I always love to end on positives. So what would you share with everybody right now, you know, real estate aside, everything aside, just life? What would you like to tell people right now?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of family time in, right? So I'd say that's like the biggest I mean, well, some of us might not think that's positive, but for myself, get a lot of extra time, you know, with the kiddos, with the husband, and it really forces you to find things to do as a family. I feel like we've taken 20 billion walks around the neighborhood. We've met new neighbors, keeping our distance that we haven't met before, and just, you know, coming together as a neighborhood to also do things for the kids. For example, decorating Easter eggs and putting them in the windows, putting stuffed animals in the windows for the kids to count and, you know, do little like competitions and contests. So I feel like it's just bringing everyone truly together as families, as a community, to see how we can all help each other out. I know we're really all about supporting small businesses. You know, if someone needs something, toilet paper, we all need toilet paper these days. You know, hey, we have extra, we can drop some off. So I just really feel like as a community, we're all just, you know, just pitching in, helping out. People are making face masks. I know my sister's doing that, her and her kids, for people that need those. You know, so I think it's great to really see everyone come together as a community.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you sharing that. It's very touching and it's amazing. Bill, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Just to piggyback on what Angie said, man, I mean, you got to look for that silver lining and really just look at it, because we do have a lot more family time, you know, and there's a lot of people around the country that they might've had issues, right, that weren't being able to get solved because you didn't have any family time. Well, now you got a bunch of family time. So it's something where you can come together and just kind of work on issues and fix things and make things better and build relationships even stronger and, you know, just grow through it, right? I mean, hopefully everybody just isn't like scrolling through Facebook all day long, right? Like, read a positive book, listen to a good audio, like, you know, get out, wrestle with your kids. Like, I have 4 boys, all young, so I'm always wrestling with my boys. But just, you know, take the positive out of it and just be intentional with your time, you know, be intentional with your time and invest into yourself, because it's a huge opportunity to where we all got kind of that forced time right now to do so. So Angie, I loved everything you said. I mean, great stuff.
And Angie, thank you so much for agreeing to come on today. Just wanted you to know it's absolute pleasure having the opportunity to go live with you today. I do apologize again for any of the audio issues throughout this, but you are a superstar and just held firm and kept that composure and kept rolling. So my friend, you are absolutely welcome back anytime that you'd like to join us back. Just let me know, and you can always hop on and, let us know the story from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Fantastic. Everyone, thank you so much for joining in today. And please remember to be the reason that someone smiles today. And we'll see you Wednesday when Bill gives us the lowdown on mortgage forbearance. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.